Hey, good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for the City of Lamar on Monday, January 24th, 2022. Mayor Kirk Crespin. So we do have a pretty full agenda tonight, so we'll jump right into it. Looks like we have an invocation with Ray Madison. Would you mind doing the invocation?
Father in heaven, I just thank you so much that we have people who are willing to serve in our community and lead in the ways that they do. And God, I pray that tonight especially you will grant them wisdom and guidance, and that there will be a sense of unity of spirit and purpose in what they do. I also pray, God, that you would continue to bless this community. God, that you'd provide the moisture that is needed, the jobs and the economy, and God, that you would just help us to be a people that honor you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And Marie, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the time is now 7:00 p.m. I will call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Joe Gonzalez,
Here.
Mike Bellamy,
Present.
Jerry Jenkins.
Here.
Kurt Crespin,
Here.
Oscar Riley,
Here.
Manuel Tamez,
Here.
Anne Marie Crampton.
Here.
Rob Evans,
Here.
Kristen McCray. Here. Lance Clark.
Here. Okay, before we start the consent agenda, we do need to amend the agenda with item number 11. I had passed that out to the council before the meeting, so you should have had that laying at your desk. This is for the self-serve fueling at the airport. We need to have a discussion and approve the agreement for that. So if it's okay with the council, then we get a motion.
So
Second. We have a motion and a second to insert item 11, which is the amending of the agenda. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. We set the consent agenda into groups that include our bill pay, our utility boards minutes, minutes from our regular meetings. And we put them into one package for the council to determine. So do we have any questions on that or any items we want to separate out?
I'd like to talk about the second loaf and jug liquor license.
Okay, we can vote on those, that one separate or, okay. So item 4B, we will separate out. Is there any others? Being none,
I move we accept the consent agenda less that item.
a second.
we have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda as submitted minus 4B, which is for the loaf and jug liquor and ferment malt beverage license. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Joe?
Unanimous in favor of.
Okay, so the next item was the 4B, which is the retail liquor or fermented malt beverage license for the Loaf and Jug 58 on 300 North Main Street. Emery, did you have specific questions?
I wanted to ask Chief Miller about this one in particular, since they had a recent infraction, just to make sure he was comfortable with it.
Yeah, so I believe that the liquor enforcement came down, and they did a underage buy. And they sold, I believe, tobacco and alcohol both to a person under the age of 21. We have done a background, we've been in contact with the person, I don't remember their name, who's in charge of their licensing. We talked to the liquor board. They did receive a suspension of those 3 days. 4 of those were stayed, with them paying a fine. So I believe everything is okay. It's just an employee make a bad decision. and it's incorrect.
Okay, and that's what I was thinking, and for some of our newer council members, we do occasionally pull those off to ask questions. And just for grins, how many Loaf and Jug employees go through the tips or certification? Do you have any idea?
Loaf and Jug and Loves actually have their own tips training. It's not tips, but they have their own program that they utilize. We don't get record of that. I'm sure if I requested it, that I could probably get record of it.
Maybe for the next licensing, we can ask for that. Okay.
And it does state in the application here on the write-up that they were suspended for 7 days. Their license was suspended for 7 days. So they had 3 days suspension and 4. That's what you were just noticing. Okay,
Yes.
so that's what they were talking about there. Okay,
Thank you. I move we approve the Loaf and Jug liquor license.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Loaf and Jug liquor license. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign?
Unanimous in favor of, sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so we'll move on to the public comment. This is the audience participation portion of our meeting. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject that does not appear on the agenda. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and it's at the discretion of the council. Is there anybody who would like to speak to the council tonight on an agenda? Okay. Please come forward, state your name and address.
Hi, Belinda Sturgis, and I live at 1001 County Road G, Lamar, Colorado. And I apologize, I came straight from the ranch, so I apologize for my appearance. I do have a real concern about something that I was recently reviewing after some other documents. Not too long ago, I think the mayor and council passed a $50,000 spending policy for the city administrator to approve things without council's approval, is the way I read it. Am I correct in that statement that he's authorized to without council's approval, authorized to a $50,000 spending limit?
If it's not a budgeted item, it has to come back to council.
Okay, but he can't.
In an
only budgeted-
emergency, he can, and only in an emergency situation. And I
Okay.
don't have the policy in front of me, but I can get a copy of it to you.
Okay, so I think the way I would think would be really wise, since we have a new city manager who's fairly new to this area, I think it would be wise, and during his trial period, as I understand he's operating under a trial period for a period of a year, that we look at that policy, and so that all of the authority goes to the mayor and council. The council members should be approving. The council members are elected officials, and their wards that they represent deserve to have a voice on spending, especially in these days and times.
So I know you're up on the Zoom feed there, Rob. Can you speak on that and what our?
Yes, I can.
policy was?
This is for, like Kristen said, emergency issues for if a water line freezes and we got to get a pump. We don't have time to wait 24 hours to go to the council. If the money is in the budget and has for equipment, example, I can authorize them to go ahead and get the equipment on the way without having to wait for a council meeting to come in. And I can supply the citizens the services that they deserve and not have to wait for an extra couple of days to get those things going.
So these are on emergency situations and it's only on budgeted items that have been approved in the budget. So they're purchases that would be for operational, that's in the budget already. So these aren't extenuating purchases where we're making purchases for $50,000 without the council knowing, or without it being in budget, or without it being in a certain department. So they've been reviewed in the budget. And they're just, if in case of emergency, if rather than having a frozen water line or a broken line, keep
Right.
running for 2 weeks if we have to get something in. It's an emergency assistance. Now,
Well,
From
Our-
more from an operational standpoint, because, but if it's already been approved in the budget, there's no need to come back to council for a second time.
right. And then the other part of it most things come to the council. If you look at our agendas and what we've done, anything over 10,000, is that correct?
Good.
Generally,
Well, you're talking about the bid policy.
the
now.
bid policy, we
Right.
do have a separate bid policy for bigger purchases or anything like
And then
that.
a council awards those
And the
bids.
council awards those bids, but that's separate from our regular operational funding.
well, and
So
I-
those are two different things. And for us to add another layer of bureaucracy to trying to complete a extenuating task like a broken water line or, electric service going out, those are bigger items that are a necessity. I mean, if a sewer line breaks or we need to have a pump replaced, we need to do those. So we give him a dollar amount to do that within the budget that's already been approved, that's already been reviewed in public, all the public hearings and everything else that we do in our budget process.
So
So
what
by
I'm-
no means are we being frivolous in our spending. And that's kind of what I'm taking it, that you're, making it sound
No,
like.
I
And
don't mean
don't
this-
feel
that
like
you're
we're
sounding-
doing that by any
I-
means.
I apologize. That's not what I intended. What I intended is, I believe the council should be approving the money that's spent by the city, period.
And we do.
And if that varies or that changes or that's not, and to me, I think it's really foolish when I read the charter. There's not even a description for the administrator in the charter. I'm just going by the paperwork I've
Right.
seen.
And
So
there's not.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I think that we have good elected people who can do a great job and obviously are good at what they do or they wouldn't be elected. And I just think that power needs to reside in those people. And having an accounting background,
Mhm.
I think it's always put yourself in a bad situation when you give one person unlimited authority.
Correct.
And you're giving that one person, there's no other person beside him that has that authority. Even in an emergency, as small as we are, I know these guys, you can reach them by cell phone, you can email them. It takes 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe in a big city, I could understand that,
Okay.
but we're pretty small and easy to communicate with. So that was my concern. I would like
Well, I
that to be
appreciate it.
reviewed.
Thank you for bringing that up to the council.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council on any item that's not on the agenda?
On the agenda, the Rasmussen brothers,
I don't recall that.
that we were supposed to be on the agenda.
And that was in reference to,
This 3-mile intergovernmental agreement.
no, that is not in the agenda for discussion on the 3-mile agreement, no. But if you'd like to come in and speak to us or tell us what your concern is, we are definitely willing to do that. State your name and address, please.
David Rasmussen, my brother Daniel, we live out on HH 25, east of Lamar, right where the gravel pit is. Okay. The problem we have with this intergovernmental agreement is, according to the intergovernmental agreement, if you are going to hook up to city water or sewer, you are under city rules,
Right.
permitting and stuff like that. Thing is, we had our city water before any of us was even around here. We've had it since 78.
Mhm.
Doesn't say anything about being grandfathered in. Well, we went in and talked to the commissioners about it. And according to commissioners, when you have somebody hook up to city water or sewer, now you have an intergovernmental or a territorial agreement.
Extended term.
Right.
Yep.
And we never signed anything like that. So are we grandfathered in? Because according to the county commissioners, we are, because we never signed that. We never bargained for any of this stuff, because why should we be under city laws if we're not in the city? When we can't vote on.
Right.
Basically, that's taxation without representation.
So the way the external territorial, and Lance can correct me if I'm wrong, we offer the service for the individuals that are outside of the city limits, and we've done that for many years with many different people. We offer that extraterritorial agreement to them as part of that service. And as long as you're on that service, it's almost I don't know how we would handle that since they didn't sign an updated agreement. But if you have alternate sources of water, you're welcome to go to that other source. You by no means need to be on the city water.
The problem is, because of the well that we have out here, we can't hook up 3 houses to the well. Because we have 3 houses out there, my brother's house, my dad's house, and our house,
Okay,
1 well. We've been on, like I said, we've been on city water, when we moved out there in 78, the line was already there. So it's been there since maybe the flood of 65.
yeah,
We really don't know how long it's been out there. But that's what we're getting at, is when we talked to county commissioners said they thought that we would probably be grandfathered in since we never signed your territorial agreement. Because it's never come to us. My brother remembers that him and his mom never signed that before I ever moved back here. And nothing was ever signed.
We went to the water board and they said, no, you guys never signed it. Because you got your water lines before this came into being, and they never asked anybody who had water lines before to sign anything.
Okay.
So what we're looking at is if we're going to build out there, do we have to get building code, building permits and everything else? Because if that's the case, we won't build it. Because it's not worth it to us to have to pay fees to the city when we can't vote on it.
did you want to speak on that, our city attorney?
So, I mean, I think they're speaking about a specific property. And I don't know what piece of property that is. I don't even know if there's an existing agreement or an older one before you guys owned it. Oftentimes these agreements, even if it was something that was agreed to by the previous owners, there would be an assignment situation where as subsequent purchasers of that property, you would be bound to the terms of the previous owner.
But see, this intergovernmental agreement was signed in 2004.
Sure, no, I understand what you're saying with,
So our water line precedes this intergovernmental agreement.
sure,
We
sure.
have to maintain our
That
water
doesn't-
line to the city limits.
And that doesn't mean that there wasn't an agreement prior to that. Again, I'd have to do some research to find out if there was a previous agreement. Oftentimes those agreements are a memorandum of those agreements or the agreement itself is recorded. So I'm curious on whether something like that was recorded back whenever that line was originally put in or whatever terms there initially were
When we
agreed
bought
to.
it, there was, all it said was that there was a city water line.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. There's nothing else.
There's nothing else
Well,
in there.
And
So, I mean, by saying that there was a statement or some kind of notice about that, I feel like to a certain extent, you guys were put on notice by the fact that there was a city water line there when you purchased it.
No, because there was a city water.
Because we were in the county and we had nothing to do with the city. We were outside state limits. And every time we talk to the county, all they say is they have no building permits. All they have is a zoning permit. That's it. That's all they ask for. No building permits. Now all of a sudden you guys are coming in here and saying, oh yeah, by the way, you have to get permits. Why? Can you tell us why? Because we're in the county.
so a lot of this comment tonight is, with this audience participation portion is to bring the information to us so we can research it. So this is the first time we've heard about it. I think it's something that we could have our attorney look into and we'll work with the head of our streets and building departments and we'll research it.
Talk to the county about it. County said they were going to discuss this with you because they've evidently had some problems with this in the past too.
The county doesn't like the intergovernment or the 3 mile agreement, and that's just something that we've discussed in the past, but
I hope. frankly,
that's
they
something
should.
this is something that the city will work on and we'll talk about that and we'll bring you back and we'll contact you once we've had a chance to review it and look into it, but
There's one other thing too. According to this, it's only anybody who's hooking up to the city water and sewer.
Right.
When we went down to the building department, according to her, everybody in 3 mile limit. Didn't matter whether you're gonna hook up or not, everybody in 3 mile limit. Better have talk with your building inspector.
okay, well, thank you very much and we will look back into it. I think they have your number, right? The phone numbers or,
I don't know, and like I said, I thought we were supposed to be first on one of the first ones on the agenda, and that got passed over. So,
now, who did you talk to say you're on the agenda?
Secretary.
up here in your administrative office.
Oh, Brenda?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't have that on the agenda at all, so that must have been something that was
If nothing else,
overlooked.
I'll come back up and give it to you.
Okay,
Okay.
that'd be great. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the council on an item that's not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will proceed with our council meeting. The next item on the agenda is the city treasurer's report.
I have nothing for this evening. Thank you.
Now, I did notice that you handed out the budget.
I
The
did.
formal budget.
Yes.
Are we going to be meeting on that to review it like we've done in the past with, haven't we done a work session on these?
Before it's prepared, but
Before it's
I'd be glad to have one if that's what you want to do. That'd be great.
If you have
But
any questions?
we had work sessions. We have them prior to, but we don't schedule any usually after it's been issued. So,
Okay.
but I'd be glad to do that if that's something that everybody would be interested in.
Okay, well, if the council has any questions or the new members, that's more of what I was concerned
Sure,
about with the
sure.
new member. If you had any questions, you can contact Kristen directly and
Yes.
work with her. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the city clerk's report,
And I got no report.
and then we will move to the city administrator's report.
Hey, just to let you know, we've started the coffees with Rob and had good response so far. We brought up some good issues and it's a lot of fun too. So bottom line is my schedule got interrupted this week. We were going to meet on Wednesday at Dunkin' Donuts, and I'll get them back in the schedule. But I'm planning on going, through town, going down Main Street and coming back, and even going to go out there to the truck plaza. But come out, let me buy you a cup of coffee and talk about any issues, especially if it's 3 Mile or anything. Come on out there and talk to me, and we can discuss these things and figure out how we're going to present them to the council. I guess anybody who has breakfast clubs, I don't want to call them, like the liars tables or anything like that, but anybody who wants me to come out and talk and give a little state of the city or, just some of the issues that we're seeing or areas we think we're going to improve on, contact me and I'll get you in on that rotation. Next, the chamber banquet this Friday at the Eagles Lodge, January 28th at 6 p.m. Come on out and I guess have good food, meet a lot of good people. And I think this is the 100th year, correct?
That is correct.
100. That's a lot. The council breakfast is February 2nd on Wednesday. They're going to be at Daylight Donuts, correct? I think that's it. Yeah, Daylight Donuts this year. And this will be, let me see, Friends of the Library monthly book sale, February 4th to the 5th. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the library garage. That's good. The Snow Goose Festival starts this week. I can't wait that we're going to be back down and I'll get to bring my kids and we'll get to see the first one this year. Maybe it'll be a lot of snow out there. I don't know, but we're looking forward to seeing the Snow Goose Festival. A lot of good things people have told us about it. And I guess a lot of people come from all over to see it too. We're going to have our city offices closed February 21st for President's Day. And for the council for newly elected or, refresher courses, we got some trainings for the council and any of the staff that will happen on February 28th. And if you guys had any other miscellaneous things you wanted to talk about real quick, I can hear it right now.
I don't think we have anything else. Did everybody put in their request for the chamber banquet tickets?
No. There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, if you haven't, please do. And that way they can get the tickets ordered for you.
I do have one item. I don't know if we're missed that. Well, we're kind of in.
Well, we'll go into the next item here, which is our reports and correspondence. Or did you want to ask Rob?
Well, Rob, I contacted Rob about asking the Parks and Rec to help out. Willow Creek Woods is an amazing birding space and one of our most beautiful birders in town came by my office and said that there were several trees down in the woods. It happens every year. With one call and some quick action by Parks and Rec, those trees were at least cut up and moved off of the trail. So our Willow Creek Trail is ready for the birders. And I just wanted to thank Parks and Rec and Rob for your quick response.
Welcome. That's what we do.
Okay. So any other questions for Rob before we move on? With no others, we'll move to the reports and correspondence from the council. The reports and correspondence gives the council an opportunity to talk about their liaison positions and any of the boards that they attend. But it also gives you an opportunity to speak on subjects or issues that have been brought to you by members of your ward. So if you've had any concerns or issues, you can also bring that up at this time. So do we have any reports or correspondence? Anybody would like to speak on that?
I do. I had a citizen who brought to my attention on Monday again about the traffic on Sixth Street. And I told her that it had been brought up to us back in December, but we hadn't got any reports on it as to what's going on. She said the traffic is just horrible, the way they drive down Sixth Street.
Okay. Did we ever, I guess if you can put that on, I know Kyle, you've looked at that already and
It's from, let me see where she lives. It's a few blocks past south of the community building.
Okay.
And she said they just like, she goes, I swear they wait till the sun goes down and then they race. Mhm.
I think there's quite a few different areas that are kind of hot spots for that. So we've had that concern brought up in different areas and you had just mentioned 14th and Savage. That's another area that tends to be with the kids. So, yeah. So if you wouldn't mind looking into that, Kyle, that'd be great. Coming back. Did you have any other reports or
No, that was it.
Joe?
I had a citizen contact me about an individual and Mr. Knighty brought this to the council quite some time ago about a certain business parking his trucks and not moving them and getting in the way. So when we met at church, he mentioned it to me. And I believe there ordinance to that, what he referenced to that if I can't explain to you word for word how the conversation went, but he was concerned about the trucks were parked there again and they're blocking the alleyway, preventing him to get into and out of his business with their trailers and whatnot. And so it's creating more of a problem again.
I thought we had solved that for a while. They must have just started back up.
Started back up, yes. But I explained to him, I thought that we had an ordinance in place and we would check into it and visit about it and see what can be done.
Okay. I know Lance, you had worked on that a little bit, didn't you? Or
Yeah, Kyle and I both had worked on that in the past. Okay.
Rob told me about this, and I think it's been corrected. Last Wednesday, went over there last Friday, and I believe all the trucks are along that. So I think that has been rectified for a time, hopefully longer time. Period.
I'd like to speak on that. No, it has not been rectified. I drove by there today. It still looks like a salvage yard. And I'm pretty sure that from the north edge of the sidewalk to the curb is city property that's to be maintained by the resident. So there should not be piles of tires, hoods, vehicles parked between the north side of the sidewalk and the curb. Okay. And that was just today that I drove by there. I also had a call from the same individual who I referred to, Rob.
okay. Well, it sounds like it's been made aware of, so we can follow up on that. And I think Rob, you're aware of it as well then?
Yes, I had mentioned it to Kyle and I got some background information, but yes, we can work on that.
Okay. All right. Well, if you guys can follow back up and let us know, that would be great.
Oh, I don't have a question. The same people are now parking their semi truck across the street from me. They pulled in Friday. They let the vehicle run for a couple of hours, and they shut it off. Then they go out there a couple hours later, turn it back on, A while later, shut it off. Well, I finally called the police department last night because they did this Friday night, they did it Saturday night, and they were starting to do it last night.
Okay, that's probably the best way to handle it then, if that was. Okay. All right. Did you have anything else, Joe, or?
No, that was just it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, did you have anything, or you already covered that?
Yeah, I had one other resident call me, talk to me, two people from the same business about the alleyway behind Napa. And I told them that in the wintertime it can't be paved, but they also too were gonna get with Rob. I referred them to him.
Good. All right. Anybody else?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You have your airport board?
Golf first.
Oh, golf first. Okay.
They are only open 2 or 3 times in December. They're setting up the tournaments schedule. The 11th of July was the first time that they had golf out there this year. The course is in good shape. They want to figure out a memorial criteria for people who donated and whatever. Pay attention to this, hole caps. They're gonna buy some hole caps. So people, they have 2 or 3 holes on a green, and if you're playing golf and you take the flag up, you don't put it in a hole that's harder than the guy following you to play. So these caps will go in the existing hole, so you can only use 1 hole at a time. I guess some people cheat that way, I don't know. I don't know if you know, Ray Gilbert he's on the airport board, golf board. And he had a stroke here a month or so ago. Teacher. But he's doing real good now and he's almost back to normal. And the annual golf meeting where members will be the 19th of March. And that's when they're having the icebreaker tournament.
Okay.
Now we'll go to the airport.
All right.
Got up.
Yep.
Met on the 12th. The master plan meeting will be in February. The taxiway is completed. Eric McSwan put in his resignation, but I've got I don't know, we probably all got the email said he wants to do whatever. Talking about hiring an operations manager. Maybe Eric's gonna do that. Need some help out there fueling the plane and no hot fueling of the helicopters. Because that's special training for that and Eric's the only one who's qualified to do that. And self-service be installed in 3 or 4 months, hopefully.
We'll talk about that tonight.
Yep, I see that. That's all I have.
Okay. Daniel and Marie? You had your first water board meeting, is that right?
I've been at water board meetings. I missed the last one. I was sick.
No, gotcha.
Do you have anything you want to share about it?
Working on it.
Still in litigation.
Okay. And you said nothing, Anne Marie? Okay. All right, if there's no other items, we'll move on with the rest of the agenda. We have old business, Second Amendment to the Economic Development Incentive Agreement with Cobblestone Hotel. This was introduced by Rob Evans. Rob, would you like to speak on this?
Yes, sir. We, at the last meeting, we approved the $25,000 that we would have had to put into our own system anyway. And since they wanted to move it, they would be, or move the sewer line that was underneath their hotel that's going up, that we, council agreed to give them $25,000. We need to have this agreement and allow you to sign to to give them the money so they can finish this up.
And it was the council's direction to table it until we had the actual contract.
Yes, correct.
So Lance worked up this contract. We have it here. And inside there is the inserts that we had delivered tonight that has the layout of the work to be done or that is being done. But basically, we just need to approve the contract as we discussed. And now that we have a contract.
I did just emailed Linda the current agreement. Only small changes were made after this one, but I noticed this is the first draft that I sent. So you have the final draft in your emails now.
So this one here that we have in front of us is not the final one.
Yeah, it's minor changes that I just made throughout it, but I mean, I can't tell you exactly what the change was, but I know they weren't anything of real substantive change.
Like
This,
typo.
this
type.
follows what the other one, I mean, they're identical to the nature and context of it, so.
Well, out of due respect, I'm not trying to create any problems. I would still like to see that before we voted on it and moved forward with that. If there is changes, I would like to see those changes.
What kind of minor corrections do you know?
So the only thing that stood out to me that I know is because I know I changed number 2A, instead of, because I didn't have the amount of feet in which it would be changed, I took that out and just reworded it so that it said that it ran underneath the owner's property and required the change because of that.
Okay.
So you just put the exact
The other,
footage.
I didn't put I just removed the.
You just removed it.
Removed feet to the,
Removed the feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other changes would have been just small grammatic changes.
grammatic,
I'm sorry.
just grammatic changes,
okay.
you said?
The entire intent of this was obviously to put forward the amount of money that the city agreed or proposed to put into this this sewer move, while trying to limit our responsibility and liability if something were to happen. So if you read through that agreement, I tried to ensure that we had at least limited liability in this transition itself, but allowed for us to have oversight over this process.
Okay. Rob, did you want to add anything?
I guess I might have I see in my email that there was another one. I didn't look and see the difference in that version, but if everybody has it in their email, I guess we can print those out. Could you pass this on, subsequent to changes? I don't have anything really to add. I think that it's all it is to formalize the ability for us to be able to write them a check.
Okay. Well, what's the council's pleasure?
That was the major change, leaving out the exact footage.
I don't have the other one right in front of me, but I know that's what stood out to me because I knew I made that change. And so that's the only reason I caught that, but I don't think anything else was but both of them have the same purpose. It was just minor changes to the language, I guess they both we're trying to achieve the same thing. So I don't really see any substantive changes that came after this.
Well, if council don't mind, I'd like to table it to get a chance to review the edited version of it and then possibly do a phone poll to approve that. Is that possible in that order to do that?
If we're gonna table it, we need to do it at the next meeting, so we'd have to wait till the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we would.
Have they already started construction of that?
Yeah, they have.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why they were asking for the funds at the last meeting, so. Yeah, so that if that's what the council would like to do.
I think it's gonna be hard for us to vote on something that is in an email, because we're sitting down here to approve this contract. The contract we're gonna be approving is in an email, correct?
No, the contract's in front of you. It's just the small changes that aren't adapted into that original draft.
I move we approve the final agreement in, with the recommendation of Lance.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement based upon Lance's final changes, final modifications. Did I word that right? Okay. Are there any, and we have a second on that, so are there any questions on it?
All the money and everything stays the same, right?
Same, only contributing 25. That was the biggest piece of it. Council, I just also point out that last meeting, I think, prior to trying to create an agreement, there was, we were kind of proceeding as if we weren't going to have an agreement at all. So I think it's better to have the agreement in place. I think that's better protection for us rather than just kind of moving forward without that. And I think the agreement meets that need of the city to donate that, but not have any further or try to limit our liability related to that move itself.
As a question, this is the 25 grand that we talked about 2 weeks ago, and that kind of brings the total to close to 275,000 incentives from the original agreement in 2019 with Mayor Stagner and Council, correct?
That is correct. Now, this $225,000 is different than just the incentive though, because this is something that would have needed to be done. We would have had to have either shored up or, firmed up the wastewater line before they did the construction because of the weight, or they would have moved it. So the option was one or the other. We were going to have to do the line no matter what, the $25,000 relining of the sewer line. What they were asking is if we would just give them that 25 and they pay the difference to move it. Their cost to move that line is around $85,000 is what the estimate was. So we're just contributing the money that we were going to spend on the sewer line to their project of moving the line altogether. So that way there was no future potential for any damage or collapsing of the line or anything like that. So that was their preference. It was something we were going to have to invest in either way. So that's why we decided to do it that route.
So technically, it is an incentive for them to continue forward with the project.
Well, they wouldn't be able to do the project unless we did something with it. Or a donation, yeah.
The incentives and donation were almost 275,000.
On this one, yes.
Got it.
And the project total is somewhere around 2.2 million, 2.5 million, no, 5 million. It's a $5 million project. So looking at dollar wise, if you're looking at that in comparison as an incentive compared to what they're investing, it's, in everything that we're investing, if you review that plan, the majority of that is performance based, just like this. We wouldn't have to do it unless they were actually constructing the building. Some of the tax benefits that they're receiving, they won't be able to achieve those unless they're actually making taxes. So everything that we have put into that incentive package is performance based. It's not us stroking a check or giving them money out of the blue. These are performance based depending on sharing the tax revenue that they receive, sharing the cost of their construction and all of that as they go through the process. So just wanted to explain that. So people didn't think that we're just stroking a check for 275,000 because that is not the case at all. So
I understand that. I'm not trying to get people to think that because I understand how that works.
Okay.
My follow-up question is there any resource or access point for money since 2019 that the city has helped small businesses with versus large corporations that are coming to town, just so I can go do my own research?
You have the URA board, which is our Urban Renewal District Board. Any small business, we've done quite a few grants through the URA. We've done other grants through other areas as well. And we have talked to incentive agreements for smaller businesses who are interested. So if there is a small business, even if it's a mom and pop shop, I've asked them, we've brought that up to other council meetings where they should come and talk to the council, talk to the city administrators, see what is that available. It's not available for everything. I mean, if you've been in business for 100 years and you want to expand your business, yeah, we definitely would like to help you if we can. We may not be able to stroke you. We aren't going to stroke you a check, but we can do different things that may be able to help, whether it's working with you on part of the building permits or the building process, or just depends. Every incentive program is customizable, and we've discussed that in our previous agendas. We actually approved an incentive program last year sometime that detailed all those things that you're asking about. So you're welcome to check into that too if you'd like to. Yes. And we actually did a new program, introduced a new program at the last meeting. I think you were here about the ready to rent program, where we were incentivizing people with empty buildings to get them ready to rent. So that way they're, and we would work with them through the urban development to get those buildings up and running. But we're sidetracking quite a bit off of this, and I really need to keep us on track because we have business to do tonight. So I appreciate your comments. If you'd like to come and talk to us after hours, be happy to help, or after the meeting, be happy to do that. But this isn't really a good forum for that since we have business to do tonight. But and Rob is in his office most of the time. If you'd like to go in and talk to Rob as well, you're welcome to do that. I'm sorry.
I just have one quick question.
Okay.
25,000 that you're approving out has already been given to them?
No, it has not. That's why we're doing this, the contract, before we do anything. Yeah. So moving back on the agenda, we got completely sidetracked, and I apologize. That's not what I like to do in our businesses. But there was a motion and a second on the table to approve this contract as submitted with the changes of the city attorney. Are there any final questions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Are you gonna vote or?
I'm abstaining because of the changes. I mean, whether they're small or.
And that'd be fine.
I still want to see them.
We just have to do something before we.
I understand.
Can move on with that, so.
We have council members Crampton, Jenkins, Riley, Temez, and Mayor Crespin voting yes. Council members Bellamy and Gonzalez abstaining.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This was brought in by Craig Brooks. Craig, would you like to come up and talk to us about that?
Good evening, council. This is a reappointment of a Clifford Boxley for a 5-year term for the Planning and Zoning. He has served on that for quite a while, and his term was up. Filled out the proper paperwork, it was advertised correctly, and we're asking that he be approved for an additional 5-year term.
I make the motion to approve Clifford Boxley to the board.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Clifford Boxley for another term. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of.
Okay, looks like you're up next again. The next item on the agenda is agenda item number 2. Award contract to supply labor and materials to break down the WHO building, WHO building, located at 1002 North Main Street. Remove it from its current site to a new site and re-erect it. Craig?
Yes, this I brought to you. We had actually had a couple of written proposals prior to the WHO building coming available. Once we started the process, we went out to bid with a RFP that was properly advertised through Kristen's office, sent it to 9 contractors, and we received 0 bids back. So this is a proposal to utilize Southeast Colorado Builders, who on August 25th provided us a written proposal to disassemble the WHO building and then reassemble it at the new location.
Is it price still good?
Price is still good. I did talk to him.
Is there a reason why they didn't resubmit?
There is. I actually talked to him about it. They were very concerned with their current workload and their trickling of supplies and having to run around. So they didn't feel like they wanted to bid it, be put in a tight spot if something happened. So I said, I understand that. I said, so in this particular case, if you would be willing to hold to your price, the council would approve it. All we really need to do is get it down and out of the way for the up and coming potential. Then at his convenience with a schedule that fits us, we could then reinstall it. He felt very comfortable with that.
And I had a question for Kristen. This is kind of outside the usual, the norm.
It is. I was confused as well, why they wouldn't just submit a bid and negotiate the terms of the contract.
What's your comfort level with doing it this way?
I don't feel real great about it, but I mean, if they didn't bid, they didn't bid, and we really are in a time constraint and it's holding up other progress. And so in this situation, I would tend to, if they would honor that bid and then we could just work with them on reassembling it, I would feel okay about it. The only thing I see is that we're asking you to approve the contract that's not attached. So we'd need to review that contract and make sure it was okay with the attorney before we approve that contract.
Is there a contract?
We have a written proposal, but no contract at this time, because I didn't want to do a contract unless we got the approval for these guys.
How long to get the contract?
That's to create the contract, right?
Well, we have one already. It's the same
Kind of a
contract
generic-
we usually use.
Or generic.
Right, but yes,
process.
absolutely, if we need building plans.
I was gonna have that same question, so I figured it was the same
Yes,
general
this is
contract that we use in this situation, so.
same contract.
Okay, so
I
and
have-
part of the contract is gonna be that we're gonna tear it down and move the building to somewhere. We're gonna have to designate the location, right?
We do have the location
The
now.
location's been designated.
It's over by the water towers.
Okay,
It was not originally back in August picked where we were going to do it.
no, I mean the temporary location. So if they're gonna tear it down and get it off site, where are they gonna put it at?
They're gonna put it out by the water towers.
So they're just gonna haul it out there and just leave it setting until they got time to set it up.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Now, the funds wouldn't be transferred into the account until the building is erected, is that correct, or? how is that? how
Do
are
they
we
do
working
their
it?
part? I don't know how we would do that.
So the
I
con.
No, that's okay. I would say we'd probably need to specifically lay that out
In
and
the
we could,
contract that we
do 2
utilize
payments
is
or 3
specifically
payments.
laid out. We hold back 10% on the contractor until we're 100% satisfied. We allow them interim draws. Contract is capped at their bid price.
Are you okay with
yeah,
that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
And that's worked well for us in the past on that particular contract.
And I haven't had any changes to our contract. That's the general contract that's been used several times this year, previous years in the past.
So if you would feel comfortable without seeing that contract, I mean, since it is our standard contract, you could approve it, but I would
With the
recommend that
terms.
with, Lance's approval and it being acceptable.
So on
I
the
don't know
standard
how
of
you wanna do
contracts like this, we've already approved the foundation of the contract. So it's just in making sure the terms are approved by
To match this
Kristen
particular
and
job.
Lance to make sure that it's legal. But we could, since we're using the template, if the council chose to, you could approve based once it's been reviewed by Kristen and Lance. So we could.
Can we
it
approve
based
it
on-
pending
There are two
review
reviews.
of the contract?
Yeah,
Right,
I
that's
would
what I was
definitely
trying
put
to
that in your
say.
motion.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah.
So to me, there's some points like what are those benchmarks for them getting 25%, 50%, 75%?
I would say getting it down, as soon as they get it down, don't you think, and off the
It's
site?
clearly
or-
listed out in the description of work.
Right.
So they have to complete a certain amount of work and then they put in a draw. I have to approve the draw and we hold back 10% of that amount that they wanted to accept.
Now, that's in a general contract, but like,
That's-
we know there's gonna be a huge gap between dropping the building and the next, or there could be, right?
So in my mind, we would structure that to have them, when they get it down and get it moved out there, then that could be their first draw.
Right.
I think personally, and then the second draw could be when they get it erected, and then the retainage could be paid once everything has been inspected.
Yeah, I
Do
agree.
you have any idea when it's going to be torn down? Any date to the
We
anticipate?
hadn't even gone down that direction yet. In fact, I've been working directly with Public Works to get the site kind of where we wanted it. We were waiting for council's direction before we pulled the trigger on that. So we didn't want to do anything.
So they still don't have a date of saying, yeah, we'll have it down by.
They do not.
Do they have a date they could possibly start?
Apparently, do.
I have not asked them that yet.
We have a date that it needs to be down by.
We're currently waiting on the up and coming potential clients.
Has the city got done all the labor that they can get done? I know it's demolition part of the interior of the building on with city labor. Is that part done?
That part's finished. Yes.
The electrical's all out of it?
And they're not responsible for any electric. They're just building up, putting in the insulation, installing the doors, filling in the places in which there were holes because of the HVAC or whatever else.
Yeah, and taking out the front windows and stuff because we don't want.
Putting in new steel in those places.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to go accept the bid for the 30,000, whatever it was, $800. Upon approval of contract.
Enough. I would like at least for the mayor to be involved in looking at the contract also, not just.
City council.
Yeah, and I'll need to sign it, so I'll review it before I sign.
Okay, I'm good.
So I would be the one that would.
We need to get this show on the road here.
Yeah, we do.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. You have the motion written to allow the mayor to sign upon approval of the contract.
City council approval of this
So we're gonna bring it back to city council
City
again.
council's approval.
by Lance, the attorney. Oh, okay, whatever. You good?
City attorney, and then we're good.
Huh?
The city attorney. and then
The
we're
city
good.
attorney.
On approval of contract by city attorney.
Treasurer.
And treasurer.
Aye.
Okay, are there any final questions before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a council update on the ongoing main cafe project.
Council, I attached a brief, I got the 120-page plans. Took out the pages that were applicable. These are available if anybody wants to see the whole thing. They're a rough draft at this point, but gives you an idea of the working concept of what the architects that we hired are proposing for the potential main cafe work.
So of course, as many of you know, we had the URA, Urban Renewal District, had purchased the Lamar Main Cafe. So we're using those funds, and we've been saving up funds so that we can do this project. The city would be renovating the main cafe, would be renovating it to be a restaurant down below, and up above, we would have living quarters, apartments that we can rent out as well. And that would be ran by the URA board, and they would do that. As far as the restaurant portion, we would just put it out to bid for different businesses to submit their proposal to rent it or lease it. And this is the project that we're working on. We've been working on for a while now. I think it's about 2 years in the works.
Yeah, please.
And it was actually the city of Lamar that purchased that
It was the
through a
city.
grant from DOLA.
Okay.
So I
Through a
want to
grant
give
from
them where
DOLA,
the
the
credit
city
is
did.
due. Yes.
Okay, thank you for
You're
the
welcome.
correction. Okay.
I got a
So-
question for you.
Sure. Is it possible to do a walkthrough to have or is it safe to do a walkthrough through the building to get an idea of what's happening here? On the
Yeah,
inside?
there's some areas that you don't want to have anybody in, but if council wanted to, I could surely set up a time and be more than happy to walk you through it and show you what's currently there now.
I would like to.
Absolutely.
I would enjoy that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but our ultimate goal through this piece of the grant is to get construction documents. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So this is just the
When they're
interim.
finished, and this is the conceptual, then we will have documents that we'll be able to send out to get contractors to bid, and all the pertinent information will be included in it.
And at that time, then we can go out for grant, chasing grants, see if we can find some grants to help do this project and fund the project. And then it'll give us a better target on setting dates and expectations. So.
I have a question
Yes, sir.
on drawing A302. Is this item 108, are those doors to the rear of the building? I know the main cafe has always been accessible from Main Street and the alleyway. Is that what this is?
Yes.
Access into and out of the cafe?
That is correct.
And that's not just a fire exit, that's actually gonna be a business entrance?
That is on the first floor?
Yes,
That is correct.
okay. How many apartments upstairs?
4.
They're in the corners, right?
Yeah, they're in the 4 corners of the building.
Okay, my next question. This was brought to me by my lovely wife, her first question when I told her, hey, they're doing some blueprints for this. She said, where's people gonna park? Parking has always been a major issue for the main cafe since 1950 something.
One of the things that we had been talking with is the owners that have the little novelty store, the home and season store. Thank you. They actually own the building in the back. The building in the back is not in good shape at all. So we've talked with them about making a trade because they own the second floor of this particular project. Half of it. It's a weird design. So you go up the main stairs and it opens into this large room, but half on the right side is owned by them and half on the left side is owned by us. So they are on board with giving the city their half. The city will assist them in tearing down the building, which then we will have our parking.
Approximately how many spaces?
30.
Okay.
And to your question on AC 101, in the back of the building, you'll see there's an outdoor patio to those doorways. So that's why you see the door that's kind of half cut off on the ground level view.
Okay.
So there's an enclosed patio with 5 tables outside. So that's why it looks a little hidden there. And give you a little better idea of where that would be at. So it's a great project. I think we have a long ways to go before we're be able to really conceptualize it, but Rob thought it would be a good idea to bring it back to the council to have you guys get an update, see where we're at, and let you know that we are still working on it for sure.
Craig, just one more thing.
Sure.
When this gets further along into the planning, can you make sure that the plans have some type of security for the second floor entrance to the stairwell? See where I'm going with this?
It does.
Okay,
In one of these 103 in the electrical plan,
okay.
they've so far done a really good job. I just didn't want to kill 200 trees. I'll give you the whole thing. But it's right here and I'd love for you to see it.
So this will be ongoing. We'll have plenty of time to discuss the details on as we get closer to the conceptual drawings and get the construction documents. So we'll have more time to talk about that. This is just the beginning phase. So as you review it, if you have any other suggestions or comments, we could definitely discuss those.
Pass it on down. Okay. There you go.
All right. Do we have any other questions on this topic before we move forward? Anybody? Nope. Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the next item. That was just an informational item. But the next item is agenda item number 4, accept a $200,000 CDOT grant to award to install the Fort Bench Canal pedestrian bridge. This was brought in by Craig Brooks and Kristen McCray. I'll let you speak on that.
This is actually the grant that we've been working on for the bridge that ties the LCC and our east side of Lamar into some ADA accessibility in the sidewalk. We went out, we got council's approval to go after the grant. We got council's approval on the bridge. This is just to accept the 200,000 that CDOT wants to give us. The back page, Exhibit C, it's a no match other than work in kind. So
Just kind of a housekeeping item that we have to do with these state grants, that we have to have council's official acceptance of the grant.
What's the total cost of this?
bridge,
Yes.
200,000.
Where's it actually located at?
Going to be as you're going south on 287 and you cross that little bridge before Savage Street. It'll be crossing the Fort Bend Canal on the east side. There'll be a sidewalk that ties the south side all the way to the LCC parking lot. A sidewalk that ties the north side back into our second part of our sidewalk grant on the resiliency project that we're going to be putting in.
So in the spring, they'll be beginning the construction phase of Main Street. This is a project that we've been planning and it's been put in place so that way we can get this bridge done before they lay the concrete. Because the last thing we want to do is have them lay all the concrete, then come back and have to change the bridge and tear it all back up. So that's why we were trying to schedule this in this route. The resiliency grant that he's talking about for the sidewalks would give us ADA accessible sidewalks from the college all the way to Pizza Hut. And that's another part of a grant that he's working on. So this is kind of just a step in the process for the overall project.
The only thing I couldn't remember is it's offset, so it's not gonna be flush with the bridge, with the existing bridge. There's what, like 20 feet
There's
or?
probably about 40. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but it's way off. It's outside the right of way, everything.
Yeah.
So it's far enough away that we should never have any issue with any CDOT, any Main Street, any right of way.
Yeah, I hope it gets used because it's so far off, but
Okay, so what's the council's pleasure?
Make a motion to accept the grant.
second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the grant. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay, next item on the agenda is number 5, Dean Smith Property Exchange. This is brought in by Craig. I'll let you speak on that again.
All right, back in February 22nd of 21, planning and zoning, we brought this to council agenda. There's a copy in your packet. Mr. Smith bought a piece of property, 1312 South 11th Street. And he wanted to talk to us about giving us or opening up the alley and us giving him part of our alley that's not used. So the best picture in this whole thing is probably Exhibit A, the black and white one, or the color one.
The color one was pretty good.
The color one's good. It shows a 20-foot section that we own that has never been used as an alley. And then he wants to give us the 20-foot piece so we can extend our alley all the way to the Canal Road.
I recall, I brought up that back up to city council way back when.
Right. So it's proceeded on. Mr. Smith has quit claim deeded the property to us already. And we just have to, if it's our choice to do it, give him the 20 and it's an even swap. It's actually a better situation for us because the alley then will run all the way through, which it does now, as Mr. Bellamy said, but it runs across his property unless we make this deal.
And it makes it difficult when they're collecting trash or if there's any emergency services to have it ended as a dead end on that. So having it open to the Canal Road would probably be the best idea.
How did we come up with the legal description on this?
We went to the county, pulled it all up, went to our GIS office, pulled up the information there, took it right off of what's legally recorded at the county.
Do you see a problem there, Lance?
You probably need a survey or something more formalized. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I just know most of the time when we do any kind of exchanges, especially with property itself, whenever you're taking a piece off of another, off a bigger piece, we would always require a survey or have our guy go out and survey it.
Which we can do.
This just doesn't look like a legal description in which I'm familiar with on this. I understand what they're trying to do here. It just doesn't have a point of beginning, so many feet, fence this way, fence that way. And so I guess I'm just not sure how we came up with it exactly. And I didn't know, I guess I didn't see anything. I didn't have a chance to talk to you about it beforehand, but.
Right.
Has Mike surveyed this at all?
He has. Mike was the one that actually came up with it and then went to the county as well. Because originally we didn't like how it was, but then once his quick deed claim was recorded and you take this and match it with ours and this exhibit A, makes a lot of sense. But I would have to reach out to Lance on quick claim deed, from our part anyway, so.
So I guess also in deeding this to us, is there any kind of encumbrances on the land, any taxes that are owed, any liabilities that we're facing by him transferring it?
Free and clear.
Well, I mean, but a quitclaim deed is just giving whatever potential ownership I may have in something to you. It doesn't necessarily warrant any kind of warranties for title or anything like that. So it's a little bit of risk there. Not saying that that's not one way we could go with it. I just, without having a description or information on it, I'm a little uncertain on the legal description and what kind of liabilities with that 20 feet or however many feet.
What would it take to clean up the legal description?
We need a legal description of the property beforehand and a legal description of what it's going to be changed to afterhand.
Do that?
Yeah, and typically what happens is when they survey it, we'd also record that map with it.
Not opposed to swapping out the properties, but I do agree with the guys if we can get the right language.
Exhibit A would be what we would do, and then we can sit down with Lance if that's acceptable, get those descriptions, providing everybody's okay with swapping it out.
Yeah, I see the measurements in here, and the piece of property that I purchased in this town has a description that's as long as this piece of paper right here, which should have been fixed 100 years ago and never was. And this is what we're going to start running into here with this.
So we could, as a suggestion, we could approve the exchange, but nothing can happen until we have either a survey or a formalized legal description to bring back to the council for reapproval. I mean, we can give you the direction to keep moving forward, but as far as signing anything, we can't until it's
Totally okay with
formalized.
that, just trying to.
But giving you direction, we can move direction wise.
And maybe have two deeds, our transfer and his transfer to us at the same time. So council can see both of those deeds and what they look like, legal description.
But it should come back to the council for review if that's what the council wants to do. That's just a suggestion.
Quick question. So the claim deed was December 1st of 2021. So basically, I'm just assuming when they got him to agree, they had him sign it. Did you guys approve before the December 1st?
We have
We've never
not, we have
approved
not signed anything. He gave this to, it's his signature is the only one that's on it.
Right, he
Yeah.
gave you his property waiting approval for you to do the exchange, is that right?
Right.
Basically, when he put planned it.
He left it open
Yeah.
until we decide. So until we make our decision and formalize everything, we won't sign it on our end.
When it was first brought to city council a year ago, we approved it, but then you got sick or something.
Right.
And it got
I thought
stalled.
I remembered at one time you'd already approved this way back. Like a year.
Yeah. It's just now we have to finalize the documents, and before we do that, we need to have the legal description finalized, so.
I made a motion.
Okay, what was your motion?
I don't think you made a motion.
I make a motion to swap the property after legal descriptions are done and presented to council.
I think we can just bring it back to council once we have those ready. I mean, I think you get the direction that you need,
Correct.
and that's probably,
So we could table it until the next meeting if you want to make that your motion. We'll move forward with it.
Okay.
So you have direction and we'll table it. So that's your motion.
However you want to make it easy on
Do we have a second for the table?
I'll second.
A motion and a second to give direction, but table the item until the next meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you very much.
That's correct. Okay, next item on the agenda actually is a lease of a building for detective offices. This is initiated by Chief Kyle Miller. This is to continue the lease of detective offices.
Correct. So we currently lease 2 offices and the garage out at the Village Shopping Center. That's where the detective offices are. We have really good interview rooms, which are audio and video recorded, which is something in this day and age you have to have. And we also have a little place where we have a little gym where guys can go work out, the working graveyards. Now they're just off thinking about their 10 o'clock at night or midnight, we're working their schedule work out a little bit. And then the garage we use for secure storage of vehicles. If we have a vehicle we're waiting on a search warrant on, or has been involved in a crime, we've got to hold on to that until the court case is adjudicated. That's where we store the vehicle. And then goes in our possession, not responsible for storage of the vehicle. So this is just a 3-year lease agreement. It's $750 per month. This is the same price that I believe we've been paying since 2009. I believe all the paper language is in the agreement.
yeah.
Have you had a chance to read this?
Yeah, Kyle did send it to me a couple weeks ago. The only change I guess I want to make is on page 103, which hard to say.
Yeah, case numbers, Lance.
So the second to last page on yours. Paragraph, the last sentence in that paragraph says the lessee shall be responsible for the attorney's fees. I just want to strike that out. That's the only change that I have. I realize that's only if there's
It's
legal
the
actions.
first
that come
paragraph, it's the
forward,
very
but-
last sentence.
Leasing
On the
agrees
second to the
pay
last
reasonable
page.
Attorney fees to be fixed by the court.
Otherwise, it's fine.
Okay. Council, what would you like to do?
Move we accept the contract as amended.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the contract with the amendment suggested by the city attorney. Are there any final questions?
How many office spaces did you say, Kyle?
Sure, it's 2 offices and a garage.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay, thank you. Now, the next one, agenda item number 7, Colorado Pet Overpopulation Fund Grant. This was initiated by Chief Kyle Miller and Tori Holman for the animal shelter.
This is a grant we apply for every year. This allows us to spay and neuter any animal being found before we use our shelter. And there's also some provisions in there for veterinary care. Oh, if it hit by a car, and we don't know who it is, we take it in, make sure it's gonna be okay. and pay for it that way. And also this year, we're adding $750 for microchips. Hopefully dogs will lose the tag that we give them now. All of our dogs are microchipped, so we can get it back to owners a lot easier and a lot simpler. So the total requested amount that we're going to apply for, we're asking to apply for is $14,150. $6,400 of that is for spay and neuter, $7,000 for veterinary care, and then $750 for microchips. Permission to apply for the grant.
How many readers does the city have to read the chips?
One,
Where's it located at?
animal shelter.
I asked this question because the other night, a while back, we picked up 2 dogs and the patrol officer was having a tough time to contact the owners. Is there any type of option to get another reader or 2 to have them more accessible to patrol officers?
That's something we're looking at. We might buy one more that we can keep in the animal control office downstairs. So it'll be accessible to them anytime.
Perfect.
There's not a whole bunch of dogs around that are microchipped yet.
Right.
That's what we're hoping to get the grant, microchip, and utilize that one.
What are the costs of the readers, Kyle?
I couldn't answer. I don't know what the cost is. We can only, the grant will only apply for the actual chip itself. They won't pay for it.
All 3 vets charge exactly the same rate for spay and neuter,
That's
correct?
part of the agreement.
Okay.
They give us a discounted rate.
I make the motion to approve the animal shelter manager to apply for the grant.
A motion and a second to approve the animal shelter manager to apply for the grant as submitted. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
Next item, designation of representative to the county health pool. This was initiated by the city administrator and the human resources director. So since Rob's online, we'll have Margaret.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. So each year, the county health pool requests that members of the pool designate an individual as its official representative to attend all county health pool meetings and to send monthly invoices and general correspondence to our employees. And so our brokers have suggested that this individual be the human resources director, which would be me, but then there's also a space on the designation where there's alternate representation by, and I've written in Rob Evans, city administrator, our city clerk, and also Leila Owen, the HR manager for White County. So I'm requesting that the council approve designating me as the city's representative.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thanks, council.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9, authorization to purchase and solicit bids for financing for city administrator pickup. This is initiated by Kristen McCray, and I know Rob was involved as well. Would you like to speak on this?
Sure. I was instructed, while I was involved in the negotiations with the contract to hire the city administrator. We worked on the vehicle section of the contract, which says that he will be allowed an automobile of mutually agreed upon, a type of automobile that is mutually agreed upon. And I was instructed that they had agreed on a pickup. We didn't have one available at the time when the contract was signed. So we negotiated that he would use a Tahoe that we were taking out of service until which time I could find a pickup for him to drive. So I've gotten to that point. We have gotten one spec'd out off of the state bid. And so you have that in your packet. And it was done by him and Pat, I believe, maybe, and Bill. And they brought me the paperwork. And then, so I'm asking for your permission to proceed with that. so that I can go out for financing. We won't purchase the vehicle or order the vehicle until I have financing in place. I do have in the budget a pickup that we've decided that we don't need for building maintenance. They were able to get them a pickup off of the CDOT auction. So I have money budgeted for a pickup that I could use for the purchase of this pickup that's already in the budget. So I'm just asking for approval to proceed with the pickup for the city administrator.
So it was approved in the budget for the building maintenance portion. And then since it wasn't used for building maintenance, we were going to move it to a different department and we looked at props. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Rob, did you want to add anything to that?
No, she did a good job.
I know I had talked to Rob about this and when he originally was hired, we had discussed the different vehicles. We did have that pool car that they were using for many years. When Steve was here, he only used it for 2 or 3 days because he didn't quite fit in it. The
And
concern was,
that one was actually purchased for John. That's the one he chose, and we had bought that when John Sutherland had started. That was the vehicle that you guys had agreed on through his contract.
that he had
Right, and he
chosen one
picked
at
that one,
time.
yeah. And so
Right.
we had purchased that one for him. And Steve chose not to purchase one, and he chose not to use that car. So we transferred it to a pool car, which it's made a very nice pool car, so.
Mayor, I guess I would like to say that, this is just a rotation vehicle. It's not anything. It's exactly what the Public Works Director has. This is something that they will have, and I'm going to use it for, city events and pulling the parade and doing things like that. So it's not an extra special vehicle. It's not anything that's, out of the ordinary.
We tried to spec it out where it could be used or transferred directly to Parks and Rec or Public Works, Water, any of those departments. We could transfer it right into their, as the lease is up in 5 years.
I've got a couple of questions. So with the extra pages here, the topper, the package toolbox, the cross bed toolbox, the tow package, the snow plow, strobe light, gooseneck trailer hitch, that's all in this for the 58,000.
Yes, sir.
So my next question is, why do you need a camper shell if you got a gooseneck hitch? It's what?
It's
Oh,
in my
it's not?
total. It's in my total. So I can take it out, but it was attached when you guys gave it to me. Right. So I gave the total price with all options that you had given me. So if we took the topper off, it would take
So if you took the topper off, it would take off 2,500 from the 58.
2250 off of, no, is that, yeah, 2250 off of the 58.
Circled options. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but we just wanted to have the suspensions that are handled. Does not include the file at this time.
My 58 does include that, but if we went back down to the 44, we could take those options off.
That's a snow plow that we're gonna put you to work, Rob.
Hey, I've actually had to do that one time when they sent me to Idaho when I was stationed at Fort Hood. So I got a little practice at that.
I got a comment on that. City administrators hired to be a city administrator, not operate snowplow. Okay. I appreciate the gesture, but Rob, you should be on the float when we're in the parade. So therefore it's gonna be hard for you to drive the pickup and be on the float. And I think the city administrator is way more valuable to do city administrative jobs than just plow snow. We have other employees to do that.
Hey, Mike,
Yes, sir.
I just want to let you know, I wasn't actually going to do the plowing. It's so we could get the vehicle into the rotation. And when they had it, it would have the attachment available to use. I'm not actually going to go out there. It would only be an emergency case, and you don't want to add that thing afterwards. So that's the only reason why it's put in there right now.
I had the opportunity to visit with several citizens about this particular item. And one citizen brought this question up to me was, he wasn't opposed to the administrator getting a truck, but he just felt that this was too much of a truck. And the other question he brought forth to me was that the administrator's duties require exclusive and unrestricted use of this automobile. He had a problem with that with me and drilled me hard about it, was that how could I allow this to take place and let him have unrestricted use and exclusive use of this vehicle on taxpayers' dollars?
Well, we do that with the police department. All the police officers have that.
And so I would ask if the verbiage could be changed to exclusive, unrestricted use for city purpose.
I wouldn't agree to that. Sorry, but that was part of the negotiations to come here. And if you wouldn't want to go back, and it says mutually agreeable, so I wouldn't agree to that.
Well, that contract's already been approved. We're not negotiating the contract.
We're not renegotiating the other original contract.
No, and that's not what
you
this
have on
is
the
about.
original contract. We can't go back and renegotiate his hiring contract that
Well,
has already
under
been completed.
negotiations, Kurt, I don't ever remember him getting a new truck.
But that was
Remember-
in the contract that you reviewed though, right?
I'm sorry?
That was in the contract that you reviewed and approved, right?
I don't believe so, not the new truck, no. I remember the Tahoe.
Okay.
But I don't remember any talks about a new pickup.
Okay, well, it was a vehicle and we were trying to put it in the rotation. If the council doesn't want to do that, that would be okay. I think I'm gonna leave it up to the council, whatever you would like to do, whatever your pleasure
So
is.
were they opposed to the 44,000 base price of, I mean, that's about what the truck costs, I think.
About 44,000.
That's a very good price for a F-250.
Okay, I'm gonna get to brass tacks of it. I don't believe that the city, first of all, I don't believe there's any city employee that needs a brand new diesel pickup.
This is a diesel, is it?
Yes, it is. I know Pat has one. And okay, Pat's got 38 years of service, so I can see letting Pat drive a diesel pickup around. This is the hardest thing you can possibly do on a diesel pickup, is just to drive it around town. It's designed to be a work truck to do working, and we're gonna drive it around for the extent of the lease on a diesel pickup, creating all type of performance issues to it. I don't believe this is the proper piece of equipment for what needs to be done. I feel like we can buy a half-ton, four-wheel drive, four-door gasoline pickup that can also be put into rotation for the city public works to use. We had a 1-ton or a 3/4 ton, I don't know what it was that Anthony was, that we was gonna replace. And we replaced it with a, I don't know what age it is, 15 or 20-year-old pickup, and he's perfectly happy with it. So going back to say that we had it budgeted to replace it. Well, now we've replaced that pickup, so we can just save that money. I don't think we need to try to buy a $60,000 pickup.
How many vehicles do we have on the budget for this year to replace?
We had the building maintenance pickup, 3 police vehicles. We had a library van. I believe that's it. Let me, I can look. Hold on, I can tell.
I don't have a problem with Rob getting a brand new pickup at all. I just don't believe that this is the correct piece of equipment for that task. And I don't think we need to consider putting it into rotation. I think we buy the man a new pickup and he drives it 5-6 years. And then we do something with it.
Okay, get a new one for that. Is there any more discussion on it, or?
I saw in the paperwork online that the bid came from a dealership in Bloomfield. Was that after any bids were accepted from local dealers?
You saw the paperwork online for.
On the same, agenda.
Okay,
Oh,
so
Still terror, is that what you
I
said?
can answer that question for you. Okay, so the state has a process that we have always used as a municipality, and most counties do. They do a bidding process for us. So they go out to bidders in the state, Ford dealers, Chevy dealers, GM dealers. They call for bids, they bid, they pick a winner, it goes on the state bid list. That prevents us from having to go out for bid. So we go off the state bid site so that, because that bidding process has already been done.
It's
So
a
that was the
purchasing
winning
power.
bid for the state of Colorado.
So is there a conflict of interest with the city reaching out to local dealers?
I would have to go out to bid all over the state, just what the state has already done. So, and they have an option to be on that list.
Okay.
So, and they can choose to do that or choose not to do that. Right,
if I
so
could-
they've already done that process for us, the state has. So we go on there and they have a Ford dealer that wanted the bids, they have a GM, they have a Dodge. They have all of those vendors that have already they've already gone through that whole process for us. So it gives us an option to just pick something off of that state site.
Okay.
So that was the winning bidder for the state of Colorado for this time period. Okay, okay.
I'd like to add, because I visit with Christian as well about how some of that state bidding works. Because I didn't quite understand it as well, but I do understand, I believe, to a point where there is a local Ford dealership, but he has every opportunity to join the list as well. So I went out there and visited with him and asked him his point of view, how do you get on the list? And he explained to me pretty much similar as Christian did. And so if he wants to be on the advertising list, to be put on the list to bid on these vehicles, he's more than welcome to. So he would have to pay the state some funds, then the state compiles these businesses, these vendors that have paid into that, and that's who they recommend first, who can supply these vehicles. So, I mean, he's not being excluded. I mean, he's more than welcome to join.
And they buy in bulk, you get cheaper prices, we have government discounts. So we take advantage of all of that so that we can get that price as low as we possibly can.
Thank you for explaining that.
You're welcome.
My second question to add on to what Mike has said. What percentage or what number of the city's vehicles for any department are F-250 diesels, especially parks and recreation and streets?
Do we know that?
I would have to do some research on that. I am the keeper of the assets as the treasurer for the city of Lamar, and I have a list and I could do some research for you.
Okay, perfect. I'd love to get that
Okay.
information. But I think that's an important point.
Mayor, can I say one more thing? Hey, just so you know, part of this was agreement between the council and myself. I'm not opposed to changing that. I just, that I've driven diesels my whole life and I understand on the best uses of them, but I'm also okay with if the council wants to change it. I'm okay with us changing our bid or our spec and putting it to a half-ton four-wheel drive truck. Of course, the snow and ice and things like that. But I'm not here to demand anything. I want to negotiate something, and that was one of the things that was able to get me here. Everybody knows the situation.
Page 2 lists a 7.3 liter gas engine. So I'm assuming that it comes in either the 6.7 diesel or 7.3 gas. Would you be opposed to the 7.3 liter gas engine?
No, I wouldn't. That's what I'm okay with, any reasonable change. I'm okay with that. If I'll talk to Pat and I think that I'm okay with that.
Yeah. We might as well just put a gasoline tank in the back of the pickup. That 7.3 is like a V10. Is that right? 8 point.
It looks like it's about $8,000 cheaper.
I think on the very first page.
Mike, do you have a vehicle in mind that you'd like them to have?
Do I have a specific vehicle in mind?
Yeah, I sure do. Exactly what the police department drives. The Dodge 4-door. Because those are resellable after the police department's even done with them.
Well, we
Now, the
can't get
question
Fords
is-
this year. Kyle, is that correct? We can't get Fords this year. We can get Chevys.
So we're a little bit different. We use special service people.
Okay.
So that's where we're still trying to.
So we'll have to check the list.
The Fords, we have to check the list for the non-special service people. to see what whatever
Right.
we find. I know the Chevys, I haven't talked to them yet, but just voicemail. So we can go in inspection like August, we set delivery October through December, something like that, for our special service.
Right. Not sure. So we're gonna have
And I
to
think
recheck
that's a
the
good
list.
point. And, that's the only thing I would ask the council to keep in mind is, for me to try to pick your tools that you use, whether it's Snap-on or something else, that's really not, my place as an IT person to do that because I don't know what you need, whereas you would. So I've always, and I've done that throughout the 12 years that I've been on council, I've always considered, we set a budget for the council or for the departments to buy the equipment that they need. And whether it's a fire truck that has a generator or not generator, or if it has an ambulance that has specific needs, I trust them to do, within the budget that I give them, to give them the tools that they need, that they feel they're going to use. I don't know what Rob's use is going to be completely. I know, for instance, we can give him a bench seat with 2 people, 3 people, and a small 2-wheel drive vehicle. But if his need is to also chauffeur around people when they come to visit, like we did a couple weeks ago with the mayor out of La Junta, we're gonna need more than just 2-seat, bench type of thing for him to travel around in. So I think part of it is we need to also depend on what he feels is needed in that department and what he feels is needed in for his day-to-day use and day-to-day operations. But not only that, but if he's considering what's going to be, and he's asking Pat, what would you use if we were to transfer this over? Pat's also throwing in his considerations of what he may need in the future as well. So I think there's kind of a fine balance between, do we pick the tools that they need specifically, or do we give them the flexibility to get what they actually feel they need? And we've done that with the police department. When they pick out their vehicles, we go by their recommendations. We've done that with the fire, ambulance, police, public works. It's just kind of a common practice. But if you want to get down that detailed with every single one of them, we can. But I think we'd be setting a precedent.
So we've had an agreement to get him a vehicle.
Right.
Do we have a budget to get him a vehicle?
I was going to use the money that we had budgeted that we're not going to use for a building maintenance vehicle.
So we've got the budget.
Yes, sir.
We've said that we were going to get him a vehicle.
Yes, sir.
But I don't think we have to use all that money. We can accomplish exactly what Rob needs, is a new pickup. It'll still be a 4-door, which is the same as this. It doesn't have to be a 3/4 ton, a 1/2 ton, and a gasoline engine.
Are you opposed to having him have this vehicle or another vehicle similar to it? Maybe it's a gas engine. I mean, just like what the mayor was saying, it's the truck he's gonna use, it's the truck he needs. We budgeted for it.
The part that I'm opposed to, Manuel, is that this is a diesel pickup.
He said he would be okay with not having a diesel.
And I'm perfectly good with that too.
All right. So is it a dollar amount that we're approving, or is it a specific truck? Do we have to find a new truck? Can we get that?
I'm going to have to go see what's available.
All right.
I make a motion to table it until we can visit more about what Rob needs.
Rob did tell us what he needed.
A full-size vehicle is what his contract
But
says.
it's still the
Full-size
same thing,
automobile.
Mike, is that.
So I make a
we don't
motion that
tell
we
you
find a
how
new
to do
truck.
your job.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to find a new truck.
Motion to table it.
We had a motion to table it. Did we have a second for the table?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table it. That was the first thing. So the first thing we want to do is vote on the tabling, if we want to table it or not. Vote however you will to, and if it's denied, then we'll move on to the next motion to do it.
If it approves, then no need.
Or if it's approved, then it's tabled. So that's how we would do this. That's the standard procedure. So any questions on the tabling of the subject?
Yeah. Tabling it till what?
Until the next meeting, or?
I think the tabling is a good idea if you're searching for a truck because availability is really tough. And so if you're trying to get one here soon, a lot of them are on back order, a lot of them are hard to get. So I think that's gonna play a part in it. Is he driving something now?
A different vehicle out of the city pool, yes.
I mean, so would it suffice till this got here, I guess, is the question, or
Yeah.
would you need to do a dealer locate?
It would be sufficed until he got here. Okay, we're really getting off a track on this. This shouldn't take 2 hours to discuss, so I'd really like to move forward with this.
So tabling it till.
So the table until when? When would you like to table it? To the next meeting?
I would say until next meeting.
Okay.
With what parameters, when are we finding out by next meeting? What's gonna change?
Well, we're gonna sit down, well, I'd like to sit down and talk to Rob and see if we can come up with some kind of vehicle that's not $60,000.
Still has to be on the list. Still has to be on that
Still has
list.
to be on the list.
Gotcha.
Will that give you enough time, Kristen?
I believe so, sir. Thank you.
Okay, do we have the table motion set? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye.
We have a mixed vote with council members Bellamy, Crampton, Gonzalez, Riley, and Temez voting yes. Mayor Crampton voting no, and Councilmember Jerry voting no.
Did I do yes or no? I didn't. Okay. All right, so it passed. So we will table it till the next meeting and we can discuss it then. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Liaison appointments to the boards and commissions. This is brought in by myself. This is something we've done every year to review the different boards that we're on. I am good with keeping the boards that I currently have, with the exception of combining the police and fire department to be the new public safety board. And Jerry said she was wanting to take that board on. So did we have any other changes on that? Okay, and Mike, you will be taking over Raphael's spaces on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Yes, sir.
And what else was there? Community Resource Senior Center Board. And I think that's it. No, and then the Chamber of Commerce, Lamar Partnership, sorry. Lamar Partnership. Okay, are we good with that?
I am.
Just note something, Prowers Economic Prosperity is a pretty great group to participate in, and you can attend those meetings via Zoom. So if any council members would like to attend either in person or via Zoom and listen to what's happening in a particular meeting, you're welcome to do that.
Would you count me in, Anne Marie, please? Thank you.
Okay.
And Rob and I don't know how often Rob can do it, but we do the coalition meetings with the teen center. And that's once a month.
I will do that with you whenever you want to go. I liked that last meeting and it was a great time.
Thank you.
Okay.
What is it called, Jerry? I'm sorry. I'll get you the correct name tomorrow.
Prowers County Youth Council?
They changed, yeah. What's that?
Oh, Prowers County Youth
Yeah,
Council?
no. It's the one with Lori Hammer. I'll call you
The
tomorrow
Hope
with the
Center?
correct name. of it,
Partners
yeah.
for Hope.
They call it something else, coalition.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so do we have a motion on accepting this list?
So
I have a motion and a second to approve the appointments as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. Next item on the agenda is self-serve fuel at the airport. We had approved this many months back, probably last year. And now we are at a point where we need to approve the contract, so.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I was kind of thinking maybe we'd get one of these items tonight, we could just vote yes on it for discussion, and just complete one if you want.
Gotta love him.
Well, Luke was saying, so what Linda did point out, just came to me about 3:00 this afternoon that it went on the agenda, but we did realize that the actual agreement had expired on January 8th. So I wanted to contact them and have them renew the agreement until February 24th. And I believe that's what council had gotten earlier, handed out.
We just has it, we did have it printed out for Linda's purposes. So the only modification to the current contract that you have in your hands is the date that was extended to 2/24/22. And that is the exception. So if we were to approve it or do a motion, you would need to do that with the change of the date.
And so have you had a chance to look at this?
Yeah, and I can't remember when I first got it, but I've seen this a long time ago. I feel like, I don't have any issues with it. I think, there's some risk involved, but I think that was gonna be there regardless, and they're not gonna make any changes to this agreement, so kind of stuck with it if we like it or not.
I'm sorry, Kurt, what was the date? 2/24/22, so February the 24th. So on the second page, it said the price quote is based upon the receipt of your order on or before. Instead of January the 8th, it would be February the 24th. That's the only change that they made.
Actually, I did have to make a couple other small changes. I emailed Lance. I'm just not sure if it's seen.
Yeah.
One of the things we've been dealing with was on the electrical and the concrete. They had included that in that original agreement as part of the total cost. I asked them to put optional. The prices stayed the same for those two items, but it's optional. So if we pour concrete, we save some money, and actually after talking to some local electricians, I think we can save significant money on the electric of it. So for the equipment and install, that actually, when they requoted it, they went up $225, so it's now $42,550. The quote for the concrete only was $4,054. That actually stayed the same. And the quote for the electrical was $17,077. That was the same, but I had them add optional. So that if we wanted to do that separately on our own, we could. They wouldn't charge us as part of the agreement.
And I remember last time when we brought this, I had a question about the tank.
So the tank's one thing, and if you noticed on the second page, they added a note that in the event we have to add a tank, that would be done through a change order, more or less, for an additional price for the tank.
Yeah.
We're hoping we can use the tank we got. We were told initially we could. We got a meeting tomorrow with the state, hash it out with them. Hopefully we will prevail. Otherwise, we may be looking at buying a 3,000 gallon tank to set out there. Yeah. From what I've seen online, it could be anywhere roughly $6,000 to $12,000. Depending on if you get double wall, if you get single wall and have to add containment. So somewhere in that ballpark.
Is there a containment out there for the tank now?
The two 11,000 gallon bulk tanks that we have, there's actually contained a concrete containment on both.
So we're legally good there.
We're legally good there.
All right.
What did you say the quote went up to? From 42,000
Equipment
to?
and install.
It was $42,550 for the equipment install.
But we could save a little bit of money if you do the concrete and find a local electrician or electrical contractor.
Yeah, just and preliminarily, don't hold me to it, but we had reached out to a couple of local electrical contractors, and they seem to think they could do the electrical portion between $3,000 and $6,000 versus $17,000.
That would be wonderful.
That much, David?
That would give you the money for your tank if you needed it, then wouldn't it?
So that's why I wanted them to make that optional, not part of the overall agreement. If we choose to go that way, we can, but we don't have.
According to this contract, it looks like we're gonna pay what they want. I mean, it doesn't give us the option of the concrete and electrical. Do we need to get this changed before we sign this?
I actually had it changed today. Just got a copy of it.
He didn't bring that to my attention. This is the copy
If I
that.
could just look at it. that's all.
Lance, did you get a copy of that change? Yeah.
I think Pete's got it in an email.
Okay.
If we approve it, when would they start?
They're telling me right now 90 days, but they can't really hold it out either with shipping the way things are going right now, but they're thinking 90 days are pretty common.
You said this company's done several of these.
They have. And they're local, well, I say local, they're state of Colorado. We'd had previously a couple of other bids that were out of Texas. They were actually quite a bit higher, and then they ultimately fell through, so they couldn't.
These people are the best in fueling. fuel handling.
Okay, so what's the council's pleasure?
Well, I just got one more question. I know we've been applying for grants. Is that correct for this?
We have a grant in place right now. It's a $25,000 grant to put towards this. And we have budgeted capital money in the airport fund for
That's
the
in place.
match. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So are we gonna approve the 63,406, or are we gonna have to, that number was updated, right? Because we got a increase of $500. So we just need to know what we need to prove is a max.
Well, we could approve for the 43, just for the, or you could do, or for the equipment and install only, or you could do with the options. Or if you want to do the whole amount, the 63,681, what do you need?
I would recommend, approving the full amount with the two optionals. They're just optional. They're not going to hold us to it. If we decide to go a different way, we can.
Okay.
If we decide not to go a different way, then that's what the cost.
And we had approved 69,000 on this last year. Originally, when we originally approved this back in May of last year.
So if the concrete, you're going, the city labor is gonna do the concrete.
Correct.
Okay, so electrical, we'll have to go out to bid for that or what? Because now that's gonna hold this up, whole process up, right?
Well, I'm hoping if it's under the 10,000, we'll have to. So,
But some electrical contractor might say, well, I didn't get an opportunity to
I
see
can
where I'm
put out,
going here.
we could quote it. I mean,
They can do an informal bid under 10,000, so they
Okay.
can do calls and get written.
As long as we
Yeah.
don't got people calling mad because they didn't get an
Right.
opportunity to bid.
He can call all the ones that we have. We have a list at my office. He can
Perfect.
call all of them and get written ones. And then you'd cover everybody local. Okay.
I make a motion to accept the total with the two options for the agreement for self-service fuel at the airport and authorize mayor to sign.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve with the, and authorize the mayor to sign. Any final questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. So the next item of the agenda is the executive session. However, we will not be coming out of the executive session with any decisions. So I'm gonna move that to the miscellaneous items for now. Are there any miscellaneous items we need to discuss before we go into executive session? No questions or anything like that, Martha? We need to address, okay?
I have one.
Okay.
I'd like to not have a surprise on the agenda again. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I misspoke in the terminology of it, but what's actually printed on the orange sheet there is what we should have, and if something doesn't get on it or make it, it should be tabled until the next.
And that's why we do the beginning, when we open it up, we have the option to amend. If you want to table it, you can table that.
Those are supposed to give like 24-hour notice for everything that's on the agenda.
That's our general procedure, right, but this needs to be done, so, okay? Any other miscellaneous items? Okay, seeing none,
Motion to go into executive session.
a motion and a second to move into executive session. This will be to discuss personnel matters under CRS 24-6-402 (4) Seeing no other questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you at the